In this episode, we are talking about none other than the Diva and the Queen. Welcome to the Financial Coaching for Spenders podcast. I am your host, Franchelle Caesar. I am a former internal medicine doctor. So my story, briefly, in 2018, I was a medical doctor. I had about $624,000 worth of debt, and I'm a spender, and I wanted to change careers. I figured out how to pay off all that debt. I did it in 1 year, and that's how I became the financial coach for spenders. And today I am going to be sharing with you something straight out of my coaching community that I think is like important to know right at the beginning of the podcast. So this is episode 2. And in this episode, we are talking about none other than the Diva and the Queen. Y'all, everybody want to know about the Diva and the Queen. This is like the most exciting thing that we do inside my group, is that we have a conversation about our brain as though it is separate entities, and it is life-changing. So I have had this, in my community for almost a year now, and I never really shared it outside of the community, but now on the podcast, I'm going to be sharing with you this method. Is really a tool that I use to help my clients break their money blocks. Okay. It also helps them to heal their money trauma. So that is what we're doing today. We're breaking money blocks. We're healing money trauma, but this is just an introduction. If you want to go deep dive into this, if you want to understand how this works, if you want to use this for yourself, you got to text friend to 44144 and join the Spend Lighten community and start to kind of see how we use this in the community. So I want to start by telling you about the Diva and the Queen. I have the feeling that we will be on the whiteboard quite a bit today as we talk about this, because this is something, I'm a very visual person, which is why I have a whiteboard behind me. And this is something that like you can see it a little bit easier than just if I'm explaining it to you. So I want to tell you first off about the Diva and the Queen is that this is a grand oversimplification of actual neurobiology. Okay, I simplify this because if you've been in my community for a while, you know that one of the things that I'm really excited about that I do, that I feel like is my superpower, is that I take complicated concepts and I'm able to simplify them in a way that my spenders are able to understand what I mean and like take what I'm showing them and be able to use it in their life. So I take complicated information and I simplify it. And so that's what the Diva and the Queen is. The other thing you need to know about the Diva and the Queen is that this is from my lived experience. I developed the Diva and the Queen over about 18 months of being coached myself. The concepts came as like a mixture of like concepts from 3 different coaches that I have had over that period of 18 months. As I was working through something myself, I had a money block myself. And as I worked through it, I found these different parts of myself and I found how they interacted and I found a way to talk about it that made sense to me. And then when I was, through that situation, I brought that to my community and was able to help them see things in a way they hadn't seen them before too. So it's really incredible. And I'm very honored to be able to bring that to you tonight, and I hope it helps you too. The other thing about the Diva and the Queen, let's just talk about the podcast in general. Kids are here, craziness is happening. I'm not editing anything, so y'all gonna have to deal with Grace, okay? Y'all gonna have to deal with Grace. She's in here, she has her headphones on. I don't even know. But the other thing about the Diva and the Queen, the thing that I love is when I was just learning how to manifest, I was figuring things out. And I remember people would always tell me that what I'm doing sounds like what this coach is doing. It sounds like what this other person is doing. And I always have blinders on, right? I'm figuring out my own stuff. I'm getting help, but I'm not looking to the left or to the right. And I remember when I did follow up on one of those things when they were like, oh, you sound just like so-and-so. And I went and looked and I was like, oh, wow, this is amazing. Like we have the same ideas. Well, what I found was they would only go so far. So most law of attraction coaches or most manifestation coaches will go as far as telling you, you need to heal your money blocks. I'm going to try to get in the center of the thing. You need to heal your money blocks. You need to identify and break your money blocks. But I would always remember thinking like, how, right? How do I heal my money block? Okay, yeah. So now I figured out that I have one. I don't even know the specifics of it. I definitely don't know how to heal it. Like, what are you talking about? And so going through this process was almost like an answer from God that like, here's a giant money block that you have. You work through it, and then you can figure out what it means to heal a money block. And then maybe you can share it with people, right? Which is the story of my life. I feel like anytime I'm going through something hard, it's my mission to go through that thing so that I can help someone else go through it. So it's never just about me. It's actually very comforting if you think that your problem is not about you. If you think that you're going through a problem so that you can figure out an answer, a solution, or something that soothes the pain in order to pass it on. And then when you get through it, you pass it on. So that's been amazing in my life. I've rarely perseverated on like a problem or an issue. I've rarely stayed in victim mentality for too long, ever since I've known that like, hey, this issue is not for me, it's for me to help someone else. So that's where the Diva and the Queen came from. It came from, that's where everything came. That's where the budget diary came from, right? Like it's where everything came from. It's like me going through this issue with the money block that I had last year and the year before, and being able to like break it down. And now we have this process. So I use this process inside my membership all the time. So if you are a spender, I mean, if you're not a spender, I don't know why you're here, but you can hang out if you want to. Some of this stuff is going to be confusing to you, but if you're a spender, you'll totally get it. And if you are, you need to seriously consider joining the Debt-Free Mastermind. The Debt-Free Mastermind is a group coaching program where we work through this stuff together. There's one thing for you to be, watching me on the podcast or listening and thinking, wow, yeah, I get it. It's a totally other thing for you to bring your own personal story to it and be coached and get and work through these things. Totally different thing. It makes all the difference in the world. It's so easy to get started. Just start by texting friend to 44144. I'll do the rest from there. I'll send you a message. I'll send you a link so that you can book a consult. We'll talk about your goals. We'll figure out, what's the best way to help you moving forward towards your goals in the most rapid amount of time. So let's get right to it. I want to tell you guys all about my girls, the Diva and the Queen. So the Diva is kind of the gatekeeper for our goals and our dreams. The Queen is the one who is the visionary. I'm going to put a graphic on the board so that you can see what I'm talking about and figure out where to put it. Woo, hold on, mic'd up here. Okay, and if you're listening to this on an audio podcast, a lot of what I'm doing is very visual. So whenever you get to a place where you can watch it, you can watch the replay on Facebook or on YouTube. Okay. Let's do this right. I'll roll around in my chair. Okay, let's do this where you can see it. Let's do it like right here. Also, another thing that I found interesting was the other week I was watching Bob Proctor. an old video of Bob Proctor, and he was talking about the subconscious mind and the conscious mind, and he drew this on the board, and I was like, if he says that that's the body, I'm gonna fall out of my chair, because this is the way I explained the Diva and the Queen, and I thought it was remarkable and amazing that this is exactly what he was explaining too, but in different words. So I thought that was really cool. So let me tell you about these different characters. So your queen is going to be, let's see if let me turn off the light here so there's no glare. Your queen is the embodiment, the personification that we use for your conscious mind. Okay. Your queen is your higher self. Okay. She is the part of you that dreams. She's your visionary. Your queen is a part of your mind. We're talking in medical terms, it's your prefrontal cortex. It's the part of your mind that is able to reason, the part of your mind that actually thinks about your thoughts, which is a unique thing for human beings to be able to think about our thoughts. We're not just led by instinct. We actually can think about what we're thinking about. So that's something that that the queen, I got a call. So, hey, fun times, right? That's something that the queen is able to, maybe we should do a do not disturb situation here. That would be kind of cool. I can. Okay. So that is how we describe the queen. It's your conscious mind. It's the part of your mind that tells you what you want to do with your money, the fact that you want to get out of debt, how fast you want to get out of debt, like all that comes from the queen, right? So to access queen energy, this is when we're planning, okay? Or this is when we're relaxed, we're calm, we're thinking about what we want to do in our future. We're not like in frantic energy. We're not anxious. We're just like calm, right? That's queen energy. And that's the way we describe it when we're talking about it inside Debt Free Mastermind. Can you please turn it back on? Thank you. Okay. Now the diva, on the other hand, your diva energy comes from the basal ganglia. You know, scientifically, it's the basal ganglia, but it is the most primitive part of your brain. It's the quote unquote lizard brain. This is the part that reacts from instinct. This is the part that sounds like you and sounds very negative, but it's actually a collection of voices that you've gotten as you've grown up. Okay. So the diva is always going to be kind of deceptive, I want to say. She has your best interest at heart, but she sounds like you, but she's not you. So it's kind of deceptive because sometimes you'll think that this is your opinion and your thought, and it's not. So we'll talk more about that. And then your body is a completely separate entity that will speak to you through emotions. She's very chill. She's very calm. Like she doesn't speak up as the other two do, but she's always communicating with you through your emotions. So what I teach you inside Debt Free Mastermind is how to use your body as further information as far as like how you're going to reach your goals. And she's going to give you lots of information too. Now, the three different parts of you have very distinct personalities and very distinct voices. And once you learn how to hear the voice and you know which voice is actually speaking at the time, it gives you lots of information about how you're going to proceed, right? Like what you're going to do. Because you get to decide out of these, you know, what your next steps will be. You know, you're not just led just doing everything the diva says or doing everything the queen says. It's actually a balance. Okay, so let me tell you about their personalities. So the queen, like I said, you access queen energy when you're planning. The queen is very ambitious. Okay, I'm going to put that up here. Your queen is very ambitious. She has big dreams and big plans. And sometimes if you tell people what your queen is coming up with, they're like, what? You can't do that. That's crazy. You know, it's like she has like these big dreams, right? Now, your queen only speaks to you when you're in that higher level energy, right? When you're in a nice, calm, neutral kind of situation where you're, you know, maybe like a Sunday afternoon when you got your planner out and you're planning a week, or you are in the zone when you're working and you know, you're putting together a project, right? You're in that queen energy, you're in flow state, okay? So it's like you're in flow. Planner energy. If you're a planner, you recognize that state when it's different, you know, it's different from when you're just kind of writing something down versus when you're in the energy of like you're planning and you're able to see what your week is going to look like. It's a totally different kind of feeling. Now, the thing about the diva is different. So the diva is just all the time talking, all the time talking. She's a chatterbox. The diva is constantly talking. Okay, so that's how you know the difference. The queen you access when you're in a higher vibe. The diva is constantly talking. She might be quiet when you're in a higher vibe, but every other time she's talking. And the fascinating thing about the human brain is that your diva can be talking while you're talking. Your diva can be talking while you're writing, which I think that's amazing. That it's like we have two brains, right? Like we can be like, as I'm presenting this to you, I have chatter in my mind, right? Oh, look, the body thing is crooked. You made the circle, it's not perfect. Oh, you should have written ambitious on the other side. Oh, you know, nobody's understanding this. What are you talking about, right? Like all that is happening as I'm presenting to you this higher level concept about the human mind. It's fascinating to me. It's amazing, right? And so what I do with her is I just kind of like let her talk and I'm like not responding to it. It's not a big deal. It's always there. So if you think you don't have mind chatter, you're wrong. Everyone has mind chatter. That's the diva. She's always talking. Now, the reason that I call her the diva is that she likes to throw tantrums, right? Imagine Mariah Carey in the green room, you know, backstage or whatever, demanding that, you know, all the M&Ms are yellow, right? And throwing the bowl around like, I said only yellow M&Ms. What are these red ones doing in here, right? Like, that's the way I imagine a diva. She's very childlike. She is very responsive to external things she can't control. She throws up, has a tantrum, right? Like, that's the diva energy. So we access that very easily when things don't go our way, right? So, but here's the thing about the diva. Where is this voice coming from? That once you figure out that's the game changer for you. When you figure out where that diva's voice is coming from, it'll change everything about how you manage your money, how you manage your time, and everything else in your life. So I'm going to write down, and you guys put in if you're watching this live, or even if you're watching a replay on Facebook, put in the chat where you think the diva's voice is coming from. I'm going to start making a list up here. So first I'm going to move ambitious to the other side because we'll just be talking about the queen over here. Put a little crown on her head. Doop, doop, doop. And then we'll talk about the diva over here. Let me make sure you can tilt this so you can still see. All right. Talk about the diva on the other side. She's like dramatic. Okay. Now for the diva, this voice, the voice of the diva, the voice that's in our head is not our voice. It did not come from us. It started somewhere else and we internalized it and made it our own voice, but it's not us. Okay. So the diva's voice comes from Society, right? So initially it'll come from our first caregivers. So our parents, our teachers, okay? Comes from society, meaning it comes from the media. All right, it'll come from the culture. All right, so this voice is literally it's trying to help us stay alive, which means that back in the day, staying alive meant not getting expelled from the tribe. So if we were in a group in community, we were safe. We had resources, we could lean on each other, we had people to help us. But if we did something and we got, kicked out of the tribe, like say we didn't do what the rest of the people do, we were going against the grain, we were rebelling, we could get potentially expelled from the tribe, which meant death because we didn't have any protection. We didn't have that collaboration. You can't hunt and gather and keep house and watch the kids and all that at the same time. So you would be very vulnerable to attack. So this part of our brain is trying to keep us alive by keeping us swimming with the rest of the fish. Like, don't go against the grain, bad things will happen, right? So it makes sense that the voices that are here come from the tribe that we grew up in. So the diva is telling us, she's giving us advice, which sounds like demands because she's not nice about it. She's very mean about it. But she's giving us advice in a way that is trying to keep us in a certain kind of role, right? So she's showing us our role. And if you are a woman, actually, I should just say gender, like your gender role. So she's giving you instructions about your role regarding your gender. She's giving you instructions about your role regarding your race, culture, right? Your community, it can go, it can be as big or as small as anything, any role that you're having. So like if you're a mother, the diva's telling you, oh, you're a mother, you should do this, you shouldn't wear short skirts, you should wear a long skirt, right? Like she's constantly giving you information to help you stay in your place and stay in your role so that you don't do anything that's too risky to be kicked out of the tribe. And she's constantly talking, chatter, chatter, chatter. The only time she's quiet is that when you're in your queen energy, the diva will be very quiet. Okay. Your diva will let your queen plan out all kind of big dreams and big goals and big plans. She won't have anything to say about it until or unless you start to try to make them happen. Okay. So like initially she'll be very quiet. She'll be like, okay, that's what she thinks she's gonna do. That's fine. Keep going. That's great. Yeah, you're gonna do that too. Good. You go, girl. You go, girl. But as soon as you actually take that first step, then she'll have all kind of stuff to say. What? Well, nobody else in your family has been able to do that. Oh, that's going to be real hard. Oh, that's very expensive. Oh, that's very dangerous. Oh, the church isn't going to like that. Did I not put the church up here? Let me put the church up here because society is we're going to say the church, right? That's a big one. If you start talking about law of attraction, everybody from the church is going to have something to say on your Facebook page, right? So the diva comes into play when she wants to make sure she's a conglomeration of all these voices trying to keep you in this role. So she's very active when you start to step outside of that. So the two of these are not always on the same page, right? Sometimes they are on the same page, no problem with that, but sometimes they're not on the same page. And if they're not on the same page, like your queen wants to do something ambitious and your diva is like, stay in your place, you can imagine who wins. Okay. Your energy is going to flow. Let me get a different color pen here. So let's make this, let's use this blue one. Make this look apparent. Your energy is going to flow this way. Okay. So what's going to happen is You get into flow, you start planning, you have queen energy, right? And then you're trying to get your body to do something, but your body won't move. You actually may go into fight or flight. You may go into freeze, which is what happened to me for about a year. I was in freeze. I wanted to grow my business and I couldn't. I was in freeze. I couldn't think. I couldn't write emails. I was just stuck. And it was because my diva wasn't on board. So your plans will flow this way. Your queen, then your diva, and then your body. If your queen has a plan and you're trying to get your body to do it, you won't be able to move forward. You'll go into, let's put the body right here. You go into a stress response. I learned all about stress responses firsthand last year. Because if you can imagine, I went through 40 plus years of my life not my suppressed it, something against the brain. It all came up and I was able to see it. So that's how a lot of this came out. So you have your stress response. So you have fight or flight, freeze. Okay. So one of these three things is going to happen. Now you may recognize this by if you feel like, or if you've ever said like, I'm just stuck. I just can't, like, I can't move forward, or I can't make a decision. I feel confused. I feel stuck here, right? You're trying to force your body to do something and it's not allowing you to because your diva's not on board. And the thing about it is your diva's really in control. Your subconscious mind is in control. We think our conscious mind is in control. We think we can use willpower. When you try to use willpower, you basically try to circumvent the diva. You try to skip the diva and go straight from the queen to the body. And it may work temporarily, maybe, but it won't work long term. And you won't have a good time. It'll be stressful because the diva's not on board and she's going to resist you. So what we do in the Debt-Free Mastermind is we get the queen, we have the queen's goal as our target, and then we figure out the objection from the diva. So we figure out what it is that the diva has a problem with, like what is the actual sentence in our brain, and usually there's 4 of them. Like what is it actually that she's objecting to? Once we can figure out what the objections are, we're able to, what I call, have a conversation between the queen and the diva, where the two get on the same page. And once they're on the same page, you'll notice that all of that resistance melts away. Your body will relax. You won't be in your stress response anymore. And you'll notice you'll start to move towards your goals. Not only that, if you can figure out what your objection is from the diva and you get her on the same page as you can actually switch it to where your subconscious mind is not using energy against you, but actually using energy for you. And you can give her a job and be like, hey, I need you to go look for this and find this and do this. And then it'll actually push you forward towards your goals a lot faster without the stress, without feeling stuck or stressed, or like you're twisting your own arm, or like you have to use your willpower to do stuff. This works with money when you have money goals. This helps with finding out what's blocking you from reaching your money goals. Because sometimes we have a goal and it's like, it's been 5 years and I haven't been able to pay off this debt. I just don't understand it, right? I want to, right? But then we don't do it and we wonder why and we feel stuck, right? Once we go through this exercise, we get unstuck and then we start moving forward. It's pretty amazing. And you get results really fast. And it's actually easy because, well, I should say easier, because you still have to do the work of like whatever your goal is, but it's easier when you have, your emotions in that fight or flight is released. So that's what we do. So this is one exercise that we go through often. And I find that disembodying, is that the word? Or maybe like giving the different parts of your mind their own personality will help you when you start to talk about negative things that come up, thoughts. When you can take those sentences that come up and say, the diva is telling me this, the diva is telling me that, the diva is making me believe this. It's easier because you're setting it apart from yourself, and it's easier to look at it and say, okay, where did I get this from? Right? If this is not my voice, if this didn't come from me, where did I get this from? Whose voice is this? Who told me this? And then you're able to be like, oh, I remember when I was 9 years old and I was at church and they said this thing and I thought it meant this. And, and now you're able to break those stories down. So this is a really powerful exercise that we do. I am working on a worksheet for you guys. I started it last week, but it is a walkthrough of this process step by step. So I'm going to be explaining the different parts just like I just did, but going a step further, I'm going to give you journal prompts where you can walk through whatever it is your money goal is. And you can walk through like, what is the diva saying? What's happening in my body? Blah, 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 blah. It's a whole step-by-step process. I'm going to give you a PDF version of that. So if you just text Fran to 44144, you'll be able to get that. It's called the Diva and the Queen money mindset journal, and it'll be a really quick one. And you know what, next week I'm going to go over it in detail. Like I'll show it to you because there's a way that you can turn that quick PDF into a full on journal. Okay, so that is what I have for you today. I've been wanting to keep these podcast episodes to 30 minutes of information and 30 minutes of an interview or coaching or Q&A if you have it. So we are right at that 30-minute mark. So I did good. I even totally forgot to time myself today, which is fine. And I think that next week or the week after, we will have our first guest. And get to the page and see if there's any questions. And we'll kind of go from there. And also, as we're putting these things together, I'm going to be figuring out how to work all of this because I can't even see where I am. So no worries. We'll figure it out. Maybe I'll have an assistant come on and just point out the questions to me. So this is the Diva and the Queen. It's really fun when you start getting to know what the different voices sound like in your body and what it feels like and how to use your emotions to guide you. And we'll just be building on that. I wanted to introduce this concept today because we build on it. And once we use it, you really see how it makes a difference in your life. So because you're part of the Spin Lighten community, and I didn't even tell you what that means. So we've been talking about enlightened spenders. Okay. And in this conversation about enlightened spenders, we've put the words together and we become the Spin Lightened. So if you're part of this community, you are part of the Spin Lightened. If you're one of my coaching clients, you're part of the Money Squad. So I thought that was really fun. But what it means to be an enlightened spender is that you've always been a spender, right? You've always been a spender, but you've thought it was a bad thing. Right? You've heard people talk about it like it's a bad thing, like it's a negative thing. But then you join the crew over here and you find out that there's actually a lot of power in a spender. And I want you to have that power. I want you to be able to have that power for yourself. So it's like the veil is lifted and you're enlightened about what it actually means to be a spender. That is the Kool-Aid that we're spreading. It's a mixed metaphor. But that's what we're spreading here in the financial coaching for spenders community, is that being a spender is not bad. And we'll go into that and lots more, especially in the interviews that we have with my clients. You'll be able to see how amazing it is to be a spender and to own that as your identity. So that's all I have for you today. And I hope that you will join my email list. Let me move over, text Fran to 44144, where you'll get all the information on all the amazing delightfulness that happens behind the scenes. And you'll get financial coaching delivered directly to your inbox every Sunday. If there's anything that you heard in this episode that you want to know more about, or that, you didn't quite understand, feel free to get on my email list, reply to any email, ask any question you have, and I will answer it directly on the podcast. I also plan to continue talking about this in future podcasts because this is just how we talk, right? So I had to explain it now because it's like people are going to start coming on as guests and they're going to just be saying, my diva said this, my queen is doing that. And you're going to be like, what is happening, right? Because that's just how we talk. So I wanted to introduce that to you. So when you're in the Spin Lighten community, you feel like, okay, this is really, I get it. This is really cool. I want to say for people who are in the Debt Free Mastermind or in the Financial Coaching Club, tomorrow we will be talking more about manifesting. We'll be talking more about increasing income. We will be talking more about getting the diva on board. So if you are in the community already, look forward to seeing you tomorrow. If you're not already in the community and you're a spender, like, I don't know what you're waiting for. You need to be inside. This is where all the high level conversation happens about money, about the law of attraction. I'm going to bring some of that to the podcast, but obviously the podcast is a one-way communication. And you definitely want to have that two-way communication. You want to be able to put your input in and talk about your specific situation so that you get help for your specific situation. The way that we talk about money is not at all like how anyone else is talking about money. And so you need to be inside, and I cannot wait to see you there. So text Fran to 44144. We will go deeper, more on this, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.